Arthel.
Yeah, and Griff and Eric, in addition to the humanitarian crisis, drugs continue to flow into the U.S. across the southern border. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, officials have already seized more than 389,000 pounds of drugs. And as the fentanyl crisis continues to grow across the U.S., customs agents have seized more than 6,600 pounds of the deadly opioid, and that's so far this year. Mark Brnovich is here. He's Arizona's Attorney General and an outspoken advocate of sustaining Title 42 COVID restrictions at the border. Joining us now, Mr. AG, you were recently at the border. So how bad is the human and drug smuggling, and is one worse than the other?
Well, we know that people are being exploited, Arthel, and thank you for having me on again to share our the experience and something that all Americans need to know about. I was down in the Yuma sector. More than a dozen people have died already this year trying to cross the border as a result of heat-related injuries. We also know that about half the drugs that enter the United States now are entering through the southern border in Arizona. And you mentioned that 6,600 pounds of fentanyl just this year. I just want to put that in context. That literally is enough fentanyl to kill every single person in the United States. And just recently here in Arizona, we have a case where 140,000 fake fentanyl pills were seized with the Transformer logo, which means it's designed to appeal to adolescents and teenagers, and 11 pounds of fentanyl powder. That literally is enough fentanyl to kill the entire population of Dallas, Texas, or San Diego, California in one stop.
Wow.
So we are losing the ability to describe how this is killing and undermining, American values.
So now you're the Attorney General of Arizona, as I said. So of course you know traffickers know how to game the system. But are there any legal consequences for those traffickers? I mean, are your hands tied in some way?
Well, this is the thing, Arthel. We can prosecute. We prosecute those cases. Like the one I just mentioned, that's a case we're prosecuting, working with the DEA and the Phoenix Police Department. But by the time we get those cases, that means the traffickers have already got into the country and they're already distributing those drugs throughout the United States. The problem is the Biden administration, by refusing, by decriminalizing what's happening at our border, by creating incentives, they've created this huge flux that's overwhelmed Border Patrol. And as Border Patrol agents have to deal with the hundreds of thousands, more than 1 million people this year illegally crossing into our country, that takes them out of the field, and then the cartels and the traffickers use that to have people smuggle drugs and dangerous people into our country. So that's the problem. The system is getting overwhelmed, and as a result of that, the cartels are enriching themselves and making it more dangerous for us.
And you're running for U.S. Senate. So what's the Senate we have now? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? And how could you help them solve the border crisis?
Well, the problem, Arthel, is that we're not forcing the Biden administration to administer existing law. So whether it was stopping building the wall, which now we're paying penalties on as American taxpayers, the Biden administration tried to give government benefits to people that are here without citizenship. I sued them. I argued that case to the U.S. Supreme Court. We're waiting for a decision. We know the Biden administration is not enforcing Title 8, which means deporting people, deportation orders. And now with Title 42, that's just one tool left in the toolbox. But the Biden administration and the enablers, the U.S. Senate, have allowed them to systematically undermine the current system, and that's why we're seeing this record amount of drugs and people coming into the country. So what we need to do, first and foremost, before anything else, is start enforcing existing law, and the Biden administration has, the federal government's at its apex of power with border security, national security. Start enforcing the existing law and stop incentivizing and decriminalize people breaking law coming into our country.
Well, you laid out a lot of stuff there, Mr. AG, but what can you do and talk to your fellow Republicans in the Senate or just in Congress in general, because they are forceful as well? Is there something they can do to get the Biden administration to do the things that you think they're not doing?
Well, I hope so. And the thing is, Arthel, that it's bad enough. Congress is already dangerous enough. But when you combine that with, quite frankly, incompetent or an uncaring Democratic president like Joe Biden, that's when you end up with this tsunami at our southern border. Quite frankly, the largest invasion since the Alamo at our southern border. And what we need to do is make sure that Border Patrol not only gives the tools that they need to enforce existing law, those resources, but you can give or provide ICE or Border Patrol, all those tools, all that funding, but it doesn't matter when you have a federal government, the president, that refuses to enforce existing law. So me and my colleagues, I shouldn't have to be suing Joe Biden over Title 42. I shouldn't have to sue him to try to build the wall. I shouldn't sue him over the public charge rule. That is up to Congress when they fund these agencies, and if necessary, they should impeach Mayorkas for not doing his job.
Mr. AG, you laid out a lot there. I'm up against a break, so I can't follow up. But
next time.
That's okay. We'll have you on again, Mark Brnovich, Arizona Attorney General. Thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.